Hello and welcome to episode 110 of From Impossible to Inevitable. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for pushing play on today's episode and listening in. I appreciate all of your subscriptions, your likes, your comments, and of course, subscribing to the newsletter, which I have been so excited about. You can find all of that information in the show notes for you. So today I have a topic that has recently come to my mind because of its lack of presence in my life. So I realized the absence of it and I was like, wait, that's gone. That's incredible. And that is resistance. So there was a point not too long ago where I experienced resistance on a daily cadence. It was my daily experience, resistance. And here's what I mean by resistance. I'm not talking about resistance with other people. I'm not talking about any sort of external friction. I am talking about internal resistance, resistance within myself. And here's what it felt like. So imagine a rectangular pool, and of course, the length of the pool, it gets deeper as you go, right? But the short end of the pool, the width of it, the level depth often remains consistent for the width of the pool. So picture you're standing at the width of the pool, facing the width, knowing that the floor is going to be consistent, and you are asked to run the width of the pool. Not swim it, run it through the water, running that width. That is exhausting. It is difficult. It is difficult to run in a pool of water. Even if your feet touch and you're tall enough, it is so difficult to run through water like that, especially when you're submerged. Like if you're more than halfway submerged, that is so difficult. That's kind of what my daily experience felt like. It felt like running through water. It was so exhausting. And I recently realized that resistance is no longer my daily experience. And so, of course, I started to think about it. I can't just notice something in my life like that and then be like, oh, that's cool. I have to investigate. Where did this resistance go? Why is it gone? What did I do to help that go away? And I bring this for you today, right? Okay. So resistance comes when there's something that we want to do or that we believe we should do, and we don't want to do it, right? Something inside of us resists doing the thing, resists engaging with the thing, resists the action, resists whatever it is, right? And I am talking about tasks. I am talking about goals. I am talking about things to be done. These inanimate things that have no preference, right? These things could be like cleaning the house. It could be making a doctor's appointment. It could be doing the difficult, scary things that are required for you to accomplish your goals. These things have no say in whether you do them or not. My house has no say in whether I clean it or not. So it's not a party to my resistance, right? It's not like, granted, if my children are not here, if I clean something, it then remains clean, right? The house isn't working against me. Sometimes with children, it feels like they are actively working against you when you are trying to clean the house. That is why, anyway, we're not going to go there. So these things do not actively resist you. All of the resistance is internal. All of the resistance is within you. There are people out there that clean their house, no problem, no resistance whatsoever. There are people that go after their goals, the hard and the scary things, no resistance. They just mow it over. It's fine. There are people that call the doctor, no problem. They just get it done. There's no resistance. So these things that we are resistant to can be very individual. Sure, there are collective experiences, things that we're all mostly resistant to, but then there are things that some of us just aren't, right? One time, I think it's been several years ago now, we found birds in our dryer vent hose, like living birds. And honestly, I wasn't that resistant towards catching these birds with my hands and releasing them outside. It was just like, well, there's a bird in my laundry room. I do not want a bird in my laundry room. And so I am going to capture it and I am going to release it outside. I did not have any resistance in that situation. There was a bird, I took care of it. There were two birds, actually. But Jake recorded this whole experience because it was really fun and the girls weren't home and we wanted to show them. And I shared that video with my friends and they were just like, I can't believe you caught birds with your bare hands and blah, blah, blah. They're like, I would never, right? They have a huge level of resistance towards that same task that I just did because that was the situation I was in. I don't actively go out and capture birds in the wild. This is not a thing. It's not a habit, but there were birds where I did not want birds to be. So anyways, we all have our own things that we are resistant to. Jake, I love him. And he is very resistant towards calling the doctor, towards going to the doctor, towards all of those things. I'll get that done. It's no problem. We're not talking about the dentist. The dentist is a different story, but the doctor, I will do, no problem. Anyways, there are things that I have been resistant to. I have lived an experience where I was resistant to call the doctor. I was resistant to call anyone. I wouldn't call and order a pizza. I'll go get a pizza, but I won't call and order for a pizza. And I've overcome these things gradually. And you can too. That's the great news. So here's how I overcame them. And it's so simple. Didn't say easy, I said simple. Here's what you do. You do it. You do it over and over and over and over and over again. You do it with repetition. You do it with intention. You do it with this like, I don't care that I am resistant to this. I am doing it sort of attitude, sort of energy. And you gradually wear that resistance down until it's not there anymore, until it's just what you do. It's just how you live. When I first started the podcast, I was very resistant towards hitting record because it was scary. It was like, I've never recorded myself before and I don't know that I know what I'm saying and I don't know that my notes are good enough and blah, 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 blah. All of this craziness added up to my resistance. I've hit record so many times that my resistance towards recording an episode is so low. Sometimes that resistance is, I'm not feeling well. Sometimes that resistance is, I wish this was over. Sometimes that resistance is, I'm not 100% sure what I'm talking about. Whatever it is, sometimes there's a little bit of resistance, but it's never enough to make me not record because I have hit record so many times. I have resistance in other areas of my life. I have resistance towards posting on social media. I have had resistance towards my email newsletter, which I have actually had for years and did very little with. And that is something that I'm actively overcoming right now. But right now, it doesn't feel so much as resistance. It feels like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not the running through water that I am used to feeling. It is way watered down, if you will. It is way less of a big deal that maybe I'm in the shallowest area of the pool, which is actually, meant for the babies. Like maybe I'm just running through a couple of inches of water rather than running through waist deep pool water. That's what it feels like to me now. And this episode even came to my mind because I have been resistant for a long time to just take a whole bunch of stuff to Goodwill, stuff that the girls have grown out of, stuff that we don't need, stuff, just the random stuff that I have found as I've decluttered and cleaned the house. And it has been piling up for months. And I have tolerated this pile in the corner of my room for a very long time until I was finally like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want this here. And I finally put it all in the car and off it went to Goodwill. but I was very resistant. I didn't just fill up a bag and then take it over to Goodwill. I didn't just get it done as soon as it needed to be done. Instead, I pushed against that resistance. Now, if I were to fill up a bag to go to Goodwill every single week, that resistance would gradually be worn down. I would then develop this way of being that no longer encounters resistance around taking things to Goodwill. So it's really interesting that the more you do something, not only the easier it gets, sometimes you even do it better. Most of the time you do it better, depends on what you're talking about. But really, the better you get, the less resistance you have, and it gets done. Isn't that such an incredible thing? We waste all of this time giving into resistance, making it have a power over us. And remember, we're talking about things that don't care. These are tasks, these are goals, these are things to be done. They don't care, they are neutral. We're giving these neutral things this power over us, making us feel like crap, because when you're resisting something, you're like, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to do that. It didn't make me feel great to have a pile of stuff for Goodwill in the corner of my bedroom. I didn't love that. I totally didn't love that. And if I had a friend come over and she came into my bedroom, I would be so embarrassed. Be like, yeah, I know. I need to take that to Goodwill. Like, it wouldn't feel good. But just having it gone, taking care of it, that feels so good. So we get to choose. We get to choose whether we give into the resistance, whether we give into the drag, whether we give into the opening ourselves up to that opportunity of feeling so low vibe about whatever the thing is, feeling like it has power over us, because these things don't. They don't. They don't. They don't have any say in how you feel about them and whether or not you just go ahead and get it done. So this idea of resistance is really interesting to me. And it's really interesting that I have gradually, over time, really eliminated a lot of it in my life, which is incredible to me. Because like I said, this was my daily experience. This was my daily life. Resistance everywhere, no matter what I was doing or wanting to do, because really, when you're giving into resistance, it's the lack of doing, right? But gradually, slowly, I have worn that down in my life, and it's really incredible. So here's what I'd like you to do. Here's what I'm inviting you to do. I want you to notice where you feel resistance in your life. What do you feel like you are running through waist deep pool water, avoiding? And bonus, ask yourself why. Why do you not want to do that thing? Why are you resistant to it? Why? Like for the podcast, that was an easy answer. It's like, well, it's scary. Like, I am putting myself out there, and people can be really mean, and people can be really judgy, and I don't want all of that. I'm a tender soul. I don't want the negativity. So that was an easy answer to me, and that's still true. Like, I don't want the negativity. But that's part of it. And my drive, my need to record and publish podcasts was stronger than my fear of the negativity. And honestly, going back a little bit to episode 108 on trusting myself, I decided to trust that I would be able to handle the negativity, that I'd be able to process it, work through it, disregard it, whatever I needed to do, because it's kind of inevitable, right? People get to be mean. People are mean sometimes. That's that. They live unhappy lives sometimes, and hurt people hurt people. And that's part of it. So go into, why am I feeling resistant to this? Why am I letting this thing have the power over me? And then journal on, what would it feel like to not have resistance to it? How would I feel doing this thing and having the result instead? How would it feel to push record on a podcast, push publish on a podcast, and have it be done. And then after you've done it a million times, to say, yeah, I've got a podcast and I've recorded, one a week for 2 years. And now this year I've added another one. So it's 2 a week now. And like, how fun is that? And you'll find, although there's mean people, or I'm finding, even though there's mean people, there are so many supportive people as well. There are so many people who are grateful for the podcast, that are excited about it, and who share my excitement. And that is super fun. People might not applaud you for overcoming your resistance to cleaning the house or calling the doctor. I certainly applaud my husband whenever he calls the doctor, but people might not. They don't even notice. Honestly, Jake didn't even notice that I took this giant pile of stuff to Goodwill. He didn't even notice. I noticed. And now every time I walk into my room, I feel so much better that I just went ahead and did it, that I overcame that resistance and just did it. So journal on how it would make you feel to not have that resistance, to have the result instead. And then you've got to do the thing. You've got to go after the result. You've got to go after for what it is you actually want that this resistance is keeping you from, whether it's a clean house or to get information from the doctor or to pursue a goal. Whatever that thing is, this resistance is just standing in your way. And this resistance is yours. It's yours to deal with. It's yours to overcome. It's yours to get rid of. So do what you need to do in order to get through it, go over it, go under it, whatever you have to do to eliminate it, knowing that it will most likely be a process. It will most likely take a lot of repetition to have it not be a source of any resistance in your life ever again. But it is possible. You can get there where it's normal. This is how people are public speakers and, travel the world making keynote addresses, right? Maybe the very first time they spoke in public, they were terrified, but now they've done it so much that it's like, yeah, this is just life. This is just what I do. I wake up, I take a shower, put my pants on, I go talk in front of tens of thousands, millions of people. And that's just their life. It's like, well, how do you get there? Well, a little bit at a time. You just keep doing it. And that's how you get there. And also that's how you get better, right? Okay. I love this. I love this topic because it's so interesting and it's so introspective. And the more questions you can think of to ask yourself, the more you should answer them, because that's just information. And then you can use that information to help you figure out what to do next. And then you just continue on. Isn't that powerful? It's so powerful. I love that so much. Okay, that's what I have for you today. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for joining me today. I send you love. Until next time. Bye for now.